The funeral was small, just 12 people gathered in the rain around a simple marker, and Marcus Cole was the only one who noticed the alien watching from the tree line. He'd been expecting her. The Eternal had sent word 3 days ago that their queen wished to observe human death rituals. Cole had agreed, partly because refusing the Eternal was complicated, and partly because his wife had always been curious about the aliens who lived forever. Sarah would have wanted them to come. When the ceremony ended and the other mourners departed, Cole walked toward the trees. The rain soaked through his suit jacket, but he'd stopped caring about comfort weeks ago. "You can come out," he said. She emerged like a ghost, 7 feet tall, skin like polished pearl, eyes that held the weight of millennia. Queen Vaelith of the Eternal, ruler of 17 star systems and the oldest living being Cole had ever met. "You knew I was here," she said. "Hard to miss, you glow." "Ah." She looked down at herself. "I forget. Sometimes. The luminescence is involuntary when we experience strong emotion." "And what emotion are you experiencing?" "I do not know. That is why I came." She moved closer, studying the grave marker with those ancient eyes. Sarah Cole. Beloved wife. 2089, 2147. 58 of your years. 58 years, 4 months, 12 days. You counted. Counted everything. Every day. Every hour. Every moment we had together. Vaelith tilted her head, a strangely human gesture. Why? Because she mattered. Because our time was limited, and I wanted to remember all of it. Limited. The queen spoke the word like she was tasting something unfamiliar. "I have lived for 11,000 of your years. I do not understand limited." "I know. That's why you're here, isn't it? To understand, to try." She stood beside the grave, rain running down her luminous skin. "My advisors tell me that humans form bonds. Pair bonds. That you attach yourselves to single individuals and remain connected until one of you stops. We call it love." Love. Another unfamiliar taste. And when the bond breaks? When one of you stops. What happens to the one who remains? Cole looked at his wife's grave. "We call it grief." They walked together through the cemetery, the immortal queen and the grieving widower, an unlikely pair that somehow made sense in the gray light of that rainy afternoon. "Explain it to me," Vaelith said. "This grief. My people do not experience it. We do not form bonds the way you do. We do not lose. Never. We are eternal. Our children live forever. Our partners live forever. Our friends live forever. Death is something that happens to other species." "That sounds peaceful." "It is. Aiden. Stable. She hesitated, but watching your ceremony today I saw something I did not expect. I saw people weeping, holding each other, speaking words that seemed to cause them pain even as they spoke them. That's grief. But why? If Sarah is gone, why do you still hurt? The logical response would be to forget, to move forward, to form new bonds. Cole stopped walking. Because she wasn't a bond. She was a person. She was breakfast conversations and inside jokes and the way she laughed at her own terrible puns. She was 30 years of shared history, good days and bad days and ordinary days that I'd give anything to have back. And now she is gone. Now she's gone. And all of that, all those memories, all those moments, they're still here. He tapped his chest. They don't disappear just because she did. Vaelith was silent for a long moment. You carry her with you. Always. And this hurts every second of every day. Then why do you do it? Why not release the memories? Move forward as you said? Cole turned to face her. Because the pain is the price of having loved her. And I would pay it 1,000 times over rather than never have known her at all. Something shifted in Vaelith's expression. Something Cole couldn't identify. I explained grief to an immortal queen. She finally understood loss, she murmured. That is what your historians will write about this day, isn't it? I doubt any historians are watching. He would be surprised. She resumed walking, slower now. I have advisors. Philosophers. Scholars who have studied human behavior for centuries. None of them have explained it the way you have. Maybe they haven't lost anyone. They cannot lose anyone. They are eternal. Then, they can't understand. Not really. Cole fell into step beside her. Grief isn't something you can study from the outside. It's something you feel. And if you've never felt it, then I am incomplete. I didn't say that. No. But it is true. She stopped at the cemetery gate, looking out at the world beyond. I have lived for 11,000 years. I have ruled empires. I've seen civilizations rise and fall. I have experienced joy and triumph and satisfaction. But I have never experienced loss. Is that why you came? To understand what you're missing? I came because I sensed something. A gap in my understanding. A question I did not know how to ask. She turned to him, and for the first time she looked almost vulnerable. Will you teach me, Marcus Cole? Will you help me understand what it means to lose? That's a strange request from an immortal. Perhaps. But I have lived long enough to know that wisdom does not come from experience alone. It comes from understanding experiences we cannot have ourselves. Cole looked back at the cemetery. At the grave where Sarah lay. Why me? Because you are honest. Because you are grieving, and you do not hide it. Because when I asked you to explain, you did not give me philosophy or theory. You gave me truth. The truth hurts. Yes. I'm beginning to understand that. She extended her hand, an unmistakably human gesture. Will you help me, Marcus Cole? Help me understand loss, even though I cannot experience it myself? He looked at her hand for a long moment. Then he took it. Over the following weeks, Cole and Vaelith met regularly. He told her about Sarah, not the broad strokes but the details. The way she stirred her coffee. The songs she hummed while cooking. The arguments they'd had and the reconciliations that followed. He told her about the diagnosis. The treatment. The slow, terrible decline that had given them time to say goodbye but had also forced them to watch each other suffer. He told her about the final night when Sarah had held his hand and told him to live. To find joy again. To remember her but not to stop moving. And he told her about the grief. The waves that came without warning. The moments when he forgot she was gone and reached for her in the night. The gradual painful process of learning to exist in a world without her. Vaelith listened to all of it. You speak of her as though she is still present, she observed one evening. In a way she is. The love doesn't disappear just because she did. But the pain is part of it. You can't separate them. Cole stared into his glass. The thing about grief is that it's not about forgetting. It's about learning to carry what you've lost. Integrating it into who you are instead of letting it destroy you. And have you integrated it? I'm trying. Some days are harder than others. Vaelith was quiet for a long moment. I received word today, she said finally. From my homeworld, one of my advisors, a being I have known for 9,000 years, has been killed. An accident. Unprecedented. Almost unimaginable. Cole set down his glass. I'm sorry, I do not know how to respond to that. I do not know how to respond to any of this. She looked at him, and for the first time, he saw something like fear in her ancient eyes. I have spent weeks learning about grief in the abstract. And now it's real. Yes. And I do not know what to do. Cole moved to sit beside her. Tell me about them. Your advisor. His name was Vaelith. He was one of the first Eternal, born before we discovered immortality, transformed along with the others when the technology was developed. He remembered what it was like to age, to fear death. He used to say that immortality was a gift we did not deserve. What was he like? Patient. Wise. Infuriating sometimes when he believed he was right and refused to admit otherwise. A ghost of a smile crossed her face. He taught me to rule. He tempered my arrogance when I was young. He believed in things I had forgotten how to believe in. And now he's gone. Yes, and I... She stopped. Something shifting in her expression. I feel something. I do not have a word for it. It is like a part of me has been removed. Like there is an absence where something used to be. That's grief. Is it? It is terrible. Yes. How do you bear it? You don't. Not at first. You just survive. One moment at a time. And eventually, the surviving becomes easier. The absence doesn't disappear, but you learn to live around it. Vaelith's luminescence was flickering. Strong emotion, she had said. I understand now, she whispered. What you tried to explain, why the memories matter even when they cause pain. Why you would not trade the suffering for forgetfulness. Do you? Vaelith was 9,000 years of my existence. Every memory I have of learning to rule, he is there. Every moment of doubt or triumph or failure, he witnessed. She looked at Cole with eyes that held millennia of experience and something entirely new. If I could forget him, erase the pain of his loss, I would also erase everything he gave me, everything he taught me, everything he was. And you don't want that. I do not. Even though it hurts. She laughed softly. A broken sound. I finally understand loss, Marcus Cole. And I wish I did not. The memorial for Vaelith was held 3 weeks later, on the Eternal homeworld. Cole attended as Vaelith's guest, the first human ever invited to witness an Eternal ceremony. The other Eternal watched him with curiosity and suspicion, but Vaelith's authority was absolute. The ceremony itself was strange and beautiful, a celebration of memory rather than a mourning of absence. The Eternal shared stories of Vaelith, projecting images and experiences directly into each other's minds. Cole couldn't participate in the mental sharing, but Vaelith narrated for him, describing memories that spanned millennia. He would have liked you, she said, as the ceremony ended. Why? Because you are honest, because you do not flinch from difficult truths. She smiled. And because you taught me something he tried to teach me for 9,000 years. What's that? That immortality is not the same as invulnerability. That living forever does not mean we cannot lose. That the Eternal are not as different from mortal species as we believe. They walked together through gardens that had existed for longer than human civilization. What will you do now? Cole asked. Continue. Rule. Remember. She paused. And perhaps learn more. From you. From your species. From those who understand loss in ways we are only beginning to comprehend. I'm not sure I have much more to teach. I disagree. You have taught me that grief is not a weakness. That pain can coexist with love. That carrying loss is not the same as being destroyed by it. She turned to face him. Those are lessons that will change my people, Marcus Cole. If we let them. If? Some of the Eternal will resist. They will see this as a contamination of our nature. A surrender to mortality. Her expression hardened. But I am queen. And I have decided that understanding is more valuable than purity. That's a big change. All meaningful changes are. She reached out, touching his face with cool, luminous fingers. Thank you. For your honesty. For your patience. For sharing your grief with someone who had no right to ask for it. You didn't ask. You demanded. Yes. That is my nature. She smiled. But you agreed anyway. And that is yours. They stood in silence for a moment, two beings from radically different worlds, connected by something neither of them had expected. Will you return to your world? Vaelith asked. Eventually. I have things to do. A life to rebuild. Sarah would want me to keep living. And will you visit again? If you want me to. I do. She hesitated. I find that I am learning. Still. About grief. About love. About the strange complexity of mortal existence. And you are a good teacher. I'm just a man who lost his wife. You are more than that. You are proof that mortality does not diminish meaning. That brief lives can be as significant as eternal ones. That love is not weaker for being finite. Cole looked up at the alien sky, so different from Earth's. Sarah would have loved this, he said, visiting an alien world. Meeting an immortal queen. She was always curious about what else was out there. Tell me about her. Again. I've told you everything. Then tell me again. The stories do not diminish with repetition. Vaelith took his arm, guiding him through the gardens. That is what I have learned, Marcus Cole. The stories are how we keep them alive. And I want to hear yours again. So he told her. About Sarah. About love. About the beautiful, terrible weight of mortal existence. And an immortal queen listened and learned and finally understood what it meant to lose.